Hello everyone, it's the Pathfinder. Today we are going to take a quick update on what's going on in the TCG market. The first one, of course, is the most recent set released in the English world. So this is only a week old, but it seems like forever. And Journey Together was released on the 28th of March 2025, and the price has actually came down a little bit. So if you can see, TCG market was selling at a very high price at the point of time 3 days before release, and has since dropped to about $230 at the moment as of recording. So in Singapore we can find similar price, about $230 USD for the enhanced booster box, sealed Facebook marketplace and things like that. But in the wild, in shops, LGSs, it's quite difficult to find them. I mean, even if you can find them, it's probably going to be more expensive than this. At the moment, it's not a very good time. Very difficult to enjoy the hobby, especially in Singapore. You can probably find, in fact, it is actually very difficult to find anything at MSRP in Singapore for Journey Together. So yeah, so I really pity people who just want a few packs to open and really enjoy with their kids, or even by themselves, adults. Whether you're adult or children, I think it's not very easy to enjoy the hobby at the moment unless you are willing to pay a very high price. And for the cards, actually the prices has been dropping quite drastically. So at release, I think the total set value was about $1,300, so it has dropped about 30% by now. So if you just scroll through very quickly, these are from Pokedata, you can see that the price has dropped very quite fast, and this is actually quite similar to what we typically see in set releases. For example, the most expensive card, Lily's Clefairy, so at release, I believe it was about $350, and at pre-release it was even going for $600-500. It was crazy. After release, right now it's dropped down to about $200. So from about $350-370 to $200, they dropped by about close to 50% in price. The card itself, I believe it is pretty nice. I mean, people who really like trainers, especially Lily, like my kid, they like really one of them. They really like Lily, so I mean, when they grow up, maybe they will really be into the card. But there are not many people who really very much into the trainer cards. Most people actually, especially in the English world, prefer Pokemon cards. Trainer cards, like I actually mentioned in my video before the set was even released, may not see as much love as compared to in the Japanese side of the collecting world, right? As for Salamence, it's doing relatively alright. I mean, at pre-release it was $180 close to. Now it's $135. Of course, the price dropped, but it's not as much as Lily's Clefairy. In fact, this is the card that actually do pretty well compared to in the Japanese set. Battle Partners, this actually really demonstrated very big difference between the Japanese TCG collection for Pokemon as compared to the English side of the thing. And Zoroark, similarly, you can see the downward slope pretty steep. So it was from about $180 down to $115. So again, it was close to 40 to 50% drop. We can go on and on, but I'm not going to keep going. But does this means that now it has reached the bottom? Honestly, if you ask me, I don't think so. I think it has ways to drop, maybe at least another 15-20% more, I believe. Then it will probably settle in some range of, for Lily's Clefairy, probably will end around $150 or $100 to $150 range, and all the other cards will just drop accordingly, or at least that's my opinion. I may be wrong, but who knows, we'll see. For Battle Partner, it was actually one of the very expensive release in Japan. Of course, now the glory of Team Rocket is going to be much worse than this, but at release, this box went up to, this is actually close to 3 times MSRP in Japan, and it was quite crazy. And right now, after the release of Heatwave Arena, actually it dropped, and at the moment it's around $80. So it was relatively affordable. This is still twice MSRP in Japan, and with the tariff and everything in the US, it's probably going to go up even more than this. I mean, I'm in Singapore, so I'm consider myself lucky. So I got a few boxes, but I haven't opened them yet. So if I open them with my kids, maybe I'll share what I pulled. But at the moment, it's relatively better than like 2 months ago, but still it is not very affordable at the moment. The cards, same thing, it really drops in value. Let's start with Lily's Clefairy. It was during release, it was close to $500, and right now it's $240. So again, dropped by about 50%, similar to the English side of the thing. Ionos Bellyboat was the second most pricey card, about 50% drop, and Zoroark, same thing, close to 40% drop. So you can see the Japanese side of the collecting, actually if you pay attention to the hobby, you can see that actually the trainer collection in Japan is a lot better than in English, because English side somehow the collectors just do not prefer the trainers as much as the Japanese collectors. It's just a difference in preference, but I don't see anything wrong or right about that. It's just different preference, right? So when we are collecting or when we see a new set coming out, even though Battle Partner actually is doing quite well and the total set value is still about $800, in a Japanese set is considered quite good. It may not immediately translate into a very good performance in the English set. So for investor, usually these are things that we have to take into consideration. The next set I want to talk about is the next newest set, the Prismatic Evolution. Everybody know how it was during release. It went up to about $130, $140 at TCG Player, and then now it drops to about 100, still close to $130. So the price actually is quite stable because of the supply. It really did not catch up at all, and it was not enough to satisfy the demand, and which is why the price is still very, very high. And if you look at the singles, of course you can see that the Umbreon was very, very much more expensive. I think the raw card was close to 1,600. Yeah, at release it was 1,800 and 1,006, and then it slowly dropped to, at the moment it's 1,002. Still a very, very expensive as compared to, you know, when we are talking about Journey Together, they drop like 50% in 1.5 weeks, right? But for this card, because of how difficult it is to acquire, even if they drop, they don't drop as much as compared to the Journey Together or Battle Partners. So even the PSA 10, it was close to $4,000 at release. Now it's $3,000, so it drops by about 30%. Now it may continue to drop because many of the cards has not actually returned from PSA. So in next week, I will expect this continue to drop further. Then it may also bring the raw card value to go down. As per Sylveon, similarly, it drops, but not by much. So you can see at release, it was, I think it was 18. Was it 18 or 17 or 16? Close to that, right? After release, about $600. Now it's $400. But to be fair, in the last about 1 to 2 months time, it was only about 10% difference in value. So not much has dropped, but PSA value definitely has dropped because once people start getting back their PSA grading and we have more supply in the market, definitely this will drop, but the raw value does not really drop by much. It's still $400. It's still very, very expensive. In fact, any of this card, $300 to $400, can be one of the most expensive card in any set. But in Prismatic Evolution, that we have so many of them, a very, very high value. Let's not look at all the other SIR, but if you just look at the EV cards, Evolution cards, almost all of them are 200 and above, right? 300. So is this actually going to drop very much lower? Honestly, I do not think so. I mean, it may drop when the restock comes, and which, according to many of the content providers out there, content creators, and people who have access to distributor, many of them are saying that there's a reprint coming in May, end of May or something like that. But how much does it really reach the market, and at what price, right? I think that's the most important question. If they are coming to the market, and we do have to remember this set do not have a booster box, so it probably come in, you know, either ETB or the bundles, which is not much. Even if it really reaches the market, even if they really print a lot as compared to the first wave, as much as the first wave, I do not think it will drop the value by too much because the demand is really way too high for this set. So the Japanese set, which is equivalent to the Prismatic Evolution, is of course the Terrestrial Festival. So at release, I think it was in December. Yeah, early December release. The price was pretty good. Actually, I was very lucky to be able to get some of the boxes, actually all my boxes, at about $70. So after that, the only way the box was going was up and up and up. So at the moment it was selling at about $100. So I have not actually sold any of my boxes yet. I was keeping them because this set, when it was released, and if you just look at the set list, of course at release this was much higher, right? Even now it is still going for close to $3,000 total value in Japanese, which is very, very, very high. So at that time I was thinking this set is going to be very, very expensive as a seal product. I mean, just look at 151 or even the EV Heroes, which is what I will actually relate this set to. They're going to perform very similarly. So I was thinking, $70 when I was buying them, I was thinking this set is probably going to be in the 300 in another few years time, especially after they stop printing them, right? At the moment they are still printing quite a lot, so the supply is still hitting the market. But at $70, even though it is almost double MSRP at that time, I thought it's actually still very affordable because of the potential of this set. So at the moment, if you compare to the time now, I mean in April 2025, it is very difficult to find plays like this anymore because everybody is just snatching everything up, and every new set that comes up is going to be like 2 to 3 times MSRP immediately. So it's very difficult unless you have a set like a Terrestrial Festival or Prismatic Evolution. Even at 2 times MSRP, it is still a good price, right? Yeah, the other set I want to talk about, of course, is the next newer one, is the Surging Spark. There are many people who say that the price will probably start dropping because of the reprint news and everything like that. But honestly, it was not really affected much by that. I mean, at the highest point, it was selling at about $260. Right now, it's $245. Still less than 10% drop in that. And as for the single prices, it did go lower, but not by much. Let's just take a quick look. I mean, for Pikachu, at the highest point, it was selling at about $500 raw. So if you are looking at the raw cut, at the moment is still going for about $350. I mean, of course it is a significant drop, but it is still very, very expensive, right? Latias, similarly, it was going for about $200. Right now it's still close to $200. So in fact, it didn't really drop much at all. Of course, if you are looking at the PSA 10, it makes sense to start dropping because this is when the slabs start reaching the people who send in for grading. So more supply hitting the market, the PSA 10 value will definitely drop. Same for Milotic. You can see that the price actually did not drop much. In the raw cuts, it was going from $140 to $120. It's only about 10%, 10 to 15% drop, which is pretty normal, especially after a set release. We do not expect everything to just keep going up. PSA 10 value going down is quite normal and at a quite gentle slope as compared to what you are seeing in Journey Together. Yeah, everything is still doing pretty well for Surging Spark. So Surging Spark as a set is actually pretty strong, I would say. The last thing I want to talk about is Hot Air Arena. This is still a pretty new set. Again, at release, it was very, very crazy. So as an investor, I won't even go close to it. Won't touch it at all. So after release, now it's dropping to about $90. I still do not touch it until maybe after the next set comes out in Japan. Because the set release is so frequent, so close, it's almost every 1 month to every 2 months they will have a set release. So I think it makes sense to just wait for it to drop. I mean, even if you really think that it's very, very good, like if it is a Terrestrial Festival or even Battle Partners, you think it's going to be good in Japanese, I will not pay $150 to buy them at release, because 1 month later, typically this is what's going to happen, right? It's going to have a big drop when they have some reprint news coming out, or after waves after wave after wave of printing, everything will start dropping. The cuts are doing quite well. At release, I think it was not as high as this. It was $500 to $600 in total value. At the moment, The Garchomp is doing pretty well. Cynthia's Garchomp holding quite stable. Ethan's Ho is holding pretty stable, going up a little. In fact, Ether's Adventure holding stable. So, but we'll see in another 1 to 2 weeks time after the Glory of Team Rocket comes out what happens to the set. If it holds at about $1,000 value, I think this set is going to be one of the best in the era, because you have to know that the number of cards in the set is a lot smaller usually to the English sets. So this is only about 192 cards. So out of 92 cards, if you get $1,000 value, it is actually very, very high relatively. And that's all I wanted to share today. So just please be careful out there. Be careful with your hard-earned money, and see you in the next one.